Good Sunday morning, everyone. Schuyler Callihan here with an episode of Between the Eers. It is the morning after. I'm joined by Christopher Hall, co-publisher of West Virginia on SI. 38-34, final score from Acrisure Stadium last night in Pittsburgh. And Chris, I mean, I don't even know where you want to begin. I mean, we could start at the end. We could start in the first half and work our way through. I mean, we could just talk about the overall feeling of the game. There's just so many ways that we could go about this. I mean, I think we could let's just start. Let's just do this. Let's start with the first half, how that kind of unfolded. Um, Obviously, Pitt had the lead 10-7 after one. West Virginia made its run to come back in the game, and they tied it up. 20 seconds to go in the first half, and for whatever reason, Neil Brown decides to pooch kick the kickoff and gives Pitt great field position. And with the way that they had been moving the ball against West Virginia's secondary, Pat Narduzzi and their new OC are probably just chomping at the bit to see this opportunity come up because they still had one timeout. They couldn't make a push down the field to get in field goal range. They tried. Luckily, it didn't work. But I think right there was the start of kind of things as kind of a precursor, if you will, as to what was to come. Because bad decision making there, poor mishandling of that game clock there at the end of the first half.
Yeah, before they even kicked it, he called a timeout on 4th and 1 with 22 seconds left.
Exactly.
If you're going to kick the field goal, why would you call a timeout? So, yeah, there was some definitely there was a lot. Yeah, like you said, there's a lot of things with this game. We can go both coaches making crazy calls throughout the game. Not why Pitt just didn't throw it every down is beyond me.
That's probably the best. That's the $1,000,000 question.
Um,
Why would
but
you?
there was a lot. There was some crazy calls in the game that negated West Virginia plays that really turned momentum. But when it was all said and done, they were up 10
Yeah, I
with only
mean,
5 minutes left, and they played to not lose instead of win. You can't, yep. Conventional thinking is run, run, pass. But more often than not, conventional thinking will get you in trouble. Seen it a
yeah,
lot. Um, Don Nehlen is he's hailed as a great coach, and he was for what West Virginia needed at the time. But people don't remember how much criticism he got. One of it was playing too conservative with the lead, and we're seemingly repeating ourselves with this. You're up 10, 4 minutes left. The game's far from over. They'd already thrown close to 300 yards at that point.
yeah,
Granted, the Pitt offense only had four before that final two Pitt drives. Pitt had 4 total yards of offense in the second half. 4. And on offense and on defense, they decided to take their foot off the pedal. And it's all the result. You just cannot, in this day and age, play conservative. You
no,
cannot do it. It is just proven time and time again. It's a failing philosophy, and it just failed again. So, not trying to do something outside of running the ball, like, didn't have to do anything fancy, even a little misdirection,
RPO.
anything. A quick pass to the outside would have just did something, I would think. So, I don't know if RPO worked because they were crashing in on the line of scrimmage. Like, probably a quick stick to the tight end would work for 5, 6 yards. So, like, you just got to move the ball. So, I don't. The thinking along there was definitely not play not to lose. Yes, CJ, they were having success in the running game, but they were selling out on the run. It was obvious. They were loading up the box and then did it again on second down. So either outthinking yourself there, where like, well, they'll think we're going to throw, and that's where it hurts you when you don't allow a quarterback to make decisions at the line of scrimmage. I'm not saying that Garrett Green can, but that's where this, if this is going to continue, that's where it's got to evolve. Like, there's got to be some awareness. There wasn't awareness with the receivers when Garrett Green did try to speed up. The lackadaisical on the outside, like, not sure really. Yes, I understand the offense scored 34 points, but man, they could have put up 50 if they wanted to, really. Like, They had success when they spread it out and spread the field and throw the ball downfield. Like there was tons of opportunities there, but they just, for whatever reason, wanted to make sure that they known that they can run the ball and win it in the trenches there at the end, and that was just silly.
I don't try to, or I should say, I try to not go too critical on the coaching staff or players as much as I can because I know there's just so many new things. Like when you have this many new faces on a year to year basis, it's college football. This version of college football is completely different from what it was 20 years ago, and the execution is nowhere near the same, even on the best teams in the country as it was years ago. I mean, it's bad football. And you and I've talked about this off air. Like college football is just not in terms of the quality of football that's being played is not a good product right now. But I do think that there have been moments in Neil's tenure where the stage just looks a little too big for him. And I would say that yesterday was one of those days. Like you just mentioned, you're up 10 with 4 minutes to go. You should never lose that game, ever. And even if you give up a score and all of a sudden it's 34-31, you still have a chance to put the game away. You get a first down, the game's over. I mean, Pitt can maybe stop it two more times with the 2 minute warning, and then they had another timeout, I believe. Um, but I mean, even if they may have had two timeouts now that I think about it, but either way, you're really eating at the clock. They're not having any timeouts left if you get another first down, and game's pretty much in your control. And I felt that every time the camera panned to Neil Brown, it just looked like a guy that was nervous as all hell that he was about to lose the game. We'll talk about Neil in a second, but the the secondary for this team has been horrendous in 3 games. And I put this tweet out last night too. Between the 3 quarterbacks that West Virginia's faced so far this season, Chris, they're 50 of 86 for 823 yards, 7 touchdowns, and no picks. I mean, that's ridiculous.
And
You're
had a chance for a pick six early in the game.
and would have made it 14 to nothing. It would have been a 14 to nothing score.
14
Instead,
3.
it's 7 to
14-3.
or 14-3. That's right. Instead, Pitt ends up scoring on that drive. So you can't have missed opportunities like that. But again, you also can't give up over 300 yards week after week after week.
Yeah, secondary's atrocious. They have no speed. Painful to say, but the pass defense was good. But Holston escaped. There was no one in the middle, and he killed him at times. Saw it with Drew Lahr, and they haven't learned from week one. So we're still at that
And
phase.
and I said it last week that like I wasn't ready to panic, or if I was a big Mountaineer fan, like I wouldn't hit the panic alarm yet. But I think we're there because Penn
Yeah.
State. It's Penn State. You don't really know because I mean they have the talent. Albany. I mean, even though it was a bad product, they were trying different things. Probably they were putting in different guys. They were probably overlooking Albany, looking ahead to this game, also while still having the sour taste of the Penn State game in their mouth. So it's kind of a weird game to judge anyway. And I felt like this was going to be the barometer. You're 3 games into this, you know what you have back there, and it ain't much.
No, it's bad. They're not even anywhere. I kind of laughed when they called him for holding because I looked at during the play, there was no one even around them to hold.
Yeah.
So I don't even know how they were near him enough to hold him. I'm not saying it's not true that it did. I'm going to go back and watch the tape, but yeah, it's horrendous. There are pass interferences that are obvious. It's bad, and they don't have anybody coming. So they're going to have to find a way to scheme around it. I don't, you're going to have to play zone, and any decent quarterback's going to beat that zone.
Right.
Anytime you're going to have to mix in some man at sometimes, but it's going to have to be a primarily zone defense. I don't know this this thoughts they were going to go and play man coverage this year is it's not happening. It's
No.
clear as day. This is not happening. Um, again, pass defense was great, but they allowed them to run down the field. So someone's got to be in the middle of the field. If your pass rush is getting there with sending four guys in, then you'll be all right. But you got to be able to contain it. You have to be able to not allow them to run for 15 yards in a first down. That should be a no-brainer. So sad that you may have to have a QB spot, but having a linebacker sitting in the middle for any dump off passes anyway, or any crossing routes that are short, that may be coming in late. Don't see how that could be an issue, but I mean, to me, there's no answers defensively. Like you're just going to have to go outscore everybody. And if you're going to play conservative up 10,
That's not a good
you're not
formula.
going to you're not going to outscore everybody. So you're going
Yeah.
to have to play pedal to the metal offensively all four quarters. And that should have been the theme right tonight. Like you hadn't proven that you could stop them. I mean, yeah, the 3.5 over three or over a quarter and a half in the second half, you were able to get to them. But that first drive, you showed that you couldn't stop them. So you needed to win the game right there. You had to win the game, and they didn't. It was like they were going to rely on their defense to stop. You just showed it. They could get down the field in a minute and 10 seconds. So what was the plan there? So again, like it's really easy to sit back and say why it didn't work. And they could have tried to pass and thrown a pick six. And they went, why didn't you just run the ball? They need to get the timeouts anyway. Like it's a lose lose if it doesn't work, right?
Yep.
So it's very easy to do that, but I think at the end of the day, you try to win the game. I think handing off CJ is a way, but what Narduzzi's an old school coach. You should know how he's thinking. He's thinking that you're going to try to run the ball, a little play action dump off to the tight end to get everybody sucked in. Anything. It doesn't have to be a 50-yard pass down the field. So yeah, I think the nutshell to me of the game is that last drive. Like everything that went against you, the officiating, if you thought the officiating was against you,
Unless you're
you had
Pat
trouble.
Narduzzi and you think you beat the
Yeah,
refs too.
uh, can't stand it. Everything that went against you, the bad bounces, they finally break up a pass and it lands right into them. Like everything was swinging your way. Yep, they went down and scored, but you could have just ended it. You could have just ended it right there. You can't talk up Garrett Green and not put the ball in his hands in that time. Like, can't do it. So, do you not have faith in Garrett Green at this point? Like, I don't understand. Like, let him make a decision on the outside. Roll him out. Do something. Just let him do something because I don't know. Maybe they just don't have confidence really in him to throw that ball that much. Like, I understand they want
Yeah.
to be a run first team, a power running team, and that's great. But when they're selling out on the run, else is gonna have to make the play, and more likely it's your quarterback. And I thought the receivers played pretty well.
Traylon
Been
Ray had a
harping on the
game. Justin
receivers,
Robinson.
been harping on the receivers all year, and they stepped up. Why not let them make a play there in the clutch? So they tried it on third down when you know you're going to pass, and of course Green made a bad decision, took a sack. If he would have ran outside the pocket, he was gone. He would have got the first down, probably been in Pitt territory. So he decided to stay in the pocket. His receivers played well. I'm sure he'd like to have that one back, but you know, that's why you're there, man. You got to make that play. If you want to be all
Yep.
Big 12, you want to live up to the hype, that's where you got to step up, and they did not.
Now, I don't know if I talked about this on the postgame show last night, but if I did, oh well, I'm going to go in on it here too. The end of the game, West Virginia gets the ball back with what 20-ish seconds or so left, and immediately the balls are just being chucked down the field. And I know that the first one to Hudson Clement, I mean, he was wide open and he just missed them.
Yeah,
But outside of that, I would have to go back and look and see the next two.
they
And
were
I
open every
understand
way.
you need to get down the field quickly because you have to get into the end zone. You can't just get in field goal range. I understand that. The clock still stops when you get a first down. The clock still stops when you catch the ball and go out of bounds. I don't know why they felt the need to get all 70 some yards right out of the gate in one play. You can get down there in a couple of plays and take a shot at the end zone. And that to me, again, was either kneel mismanaging that situation or Garrett just trying to make something happen, which is very possible too, because Neil's talked about it a lot that sometimes Garrett just tries to do too much. And even after last season, where he started to find some success, and then this offseason, they talked about how he's grown and matured as a quarterback and how he's starting to understand that he can't just be superhero on or Superman on every single play. Yet in the first 3 weeks, we've still seen those tendencies pop up where he's trying to do too much. So I don't know. And I said this off air to you, and I'll say it on here too. But you know, Garrett Green just might be what he is. He might just be a low 50% completion percentage guy, and that's what West Virginia has to live with. And you're gonna have some big explosive plays and with him at quarterback for sure, with him running the ball, with him taking shots downfield. But I don't know that he's ever going to be even a high 50s% completion percentage passer. Hasn't shown anything to be anywhere near that at this point.
Yeah, one of those passes at the end there, he threw in the triple coverage on the sideline, so it was a terrible decision
And it was almost picked off.
and eventually did get picked off when he couldn't throw it
Yeah.
over the middle again. So he I can't throw deep over the middle. It's been pretty obvious at this point. So maybe they just don't have the offense they thought they had, and that's why they didn't put it in his hands to win the game at the end. That's my only thought at this point is that
Have you seen the
he's just
schedule
not as
coming
good.
up?
If he's not as good, maybe Nico needs a shot because I feel like Nico's a better passer, but I don't think you just throw it away yet. But you've
Yeah,
got to
it's
make some improvements on offense. Like again, I know they scored 34 points, but we knew going into the season defense was going to take time. Defense is going to need a lot of time.
yeah.
At least the back end of it. So I don't really know. You know, this could really fall apart rapidly in the next 2 weeks because if you think about it, game four next week,
The month
some of
in.
these guys will have 4 games in, and things ain't going well. They can hit the portal and not lose a season. So it's going to be very interesting here in the next few weeks, and it's going to be very interesting to see if they can bounce back. Because yes, the Big 12 is still available, but they haven't shown any. I mean, you just
No.
lost to an average Pitt team. If we're being honest, that's not a very good Pitt team. The Desmond Reed kid, they can stop the run. They've proven they can stop the run. They can get to the quarterback now, so that improved. They had 1 sack coming in this game. They got 5 against Pitt, but you have no help on the back end, just zero help on the back end. So you're going to have to score points, and you cannot take your foot off the pedal on any side of the football. Kick the damn ball through the end zone touchback. Stop trying to get cute. Just throw
Thank you.
analytics out. Throw analytics in the trash. Analytics is based on a lot of bad teams playing college football. It is bad.
Can I
It
say this
is.
about it? Like, I understand in some ways when you want to corner those kicks and kind of funnel it down into where you can get better field position. But Neil, like you were just asked about this last week during the press conference, and even was again during his coach's show on Thursday. And he said, "Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to kick it through the end zone." Well, if that's really the goal, then why is the ball being cornered? It shouldn't be cornered. You should be kicking that son of a gun through the uprights. It shouldn't be going into any corner. So I don't know if that's. I mean, is he somewhat throwing Michael Hayes under the bus there? I mean, I don't know,
He had
but
a lot of touchbacks at Georgia State, so I don't know.
that's what I'm saying. How does
It doesn't
it's
make
one
sense.
thing if a quarterback drops his completion percentage from one school to the other because there's a whole lot that goes into that. Kickoffs is just kicking the damn ball. Like there's no scheme or system to kicking the ball. It's just
That's my
kick the
thing
damn
about
thing.
analytics. There's some kind of analytics out there that teams that start around the 20 don't score as much as teams that get a touchback. And we're talking about 4 or 5 yards. Again, this is probably based on a lot of bad teams.
Yeah.
Like this isn't like you just got to get rid of analytics and go with
Just
more
put it through
consistent.
the liver ever living end zone. Like,
Yeah, you're not going to have someone return it. Nothing bad's going to happen. You're not going to get an injury off one of your starters that are playing. Just kick it through the end zone. Like you're worried, you're stressing over 4 or 5 yards. Like you're overthinking this way too much. Just like maybe he overthought the end that last series and they needed to just run the timeout. Like, oh well, they may think we're going to run, but then they may think that we're going to pass too. But like they showed the box, and again, it goes back to what's your quarterback
it's a
think?
numbers
Does he
game.
have does he have freedom like to change the play to say, hey, we're not going to do this anymore. We're going to run this little stick route here, like anything. Because if you're just trying to run it against 8, 9 guys in the box, it's not going to be successful. Whether someone missed an assignment or not, they missed an assignment because there's other guys on lining up across from you that's trying to make you miss that assignment. So at some point, you got to give your guys a chance and let them make plays. Like I understand C.J. Donaldson was running well and they were run well on the outside and they were getting 4 or 5 yards, but they weren't getting really any big explosive plays out of that. So
Yeah.
it wasn't like they were busted a 50 yard earlier. Got to do something to make some plays here. So yeah, if you thought the defense was going to be stout going into this game and they were going to stop them, and that was their thought process, then there's a problem. Because again, been saying it since the beginning of the season, your offense is going to have to score opponents so you get your feet under them, and then the whole team's going to have confidence, and then they'll start playing better when you win. Right now, they're confident, all of them. It's shot. It was
Yeah.
clear as day in the post game. It's just there is zero confidence. So they're
And
going to have to. I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about Kansas here in a couple of days. This could really turn into a nightmare for Mountaineer fans
it
very, very
is.
quick.
I mean,
Because
I
it
think
is
it would be.
not, there is not, it's just not good right now. It's not,
I think it would be one thing if everyone kind of expected this to happen, right? Like if you were coming off of that year that you had in 22 and this is how your season started, then I wouldn't say it would be any better from the fans' perspective, but I'm just saying it would be more, I don't know, understandable or whatever. But when you had a 9-1 year a year ago, and I don't care, we can talk about the schedule all day long. That is a part of it, absolutely. But when you win 9 games, you win 9 games. And when you return as much talent as you did, it's on you as the head coach. It's on you as a coaching staff to keep that momentum going. All that momentum that they had from last year, in my opinion, it's gone. Like there is zero momentum left over from 2023. And that's a shame because it felt like they were starting to turn the corner under Neil Brown. You and I have both said on here that, like, hey, maybe we just, kind of gave Neil a tough time, and it was, now that he's been able to retain his players, maybe this is what we'll start to see through 3 games. Again, all that momentum has been wiped away, and I said it a couple of weeks ago, leading into the Penn State game. No one will care about the 2023 Dukes Mayo Bowl and that season if you don't build on it in 2024. If you take a step back, everyone's going to look at that and say it was a 1 year thing, it was an anomaly, and it was a byproduct of the schedule. Here we go. Looking at the road ahead, Kansas next week, 1-2 as
they're
well.
1-2.
They're 1-2
Hey,
as well,
I
but
predicted that. I knew they would struggle this year.
they're
That
they
Jaden
but
Daniels is going to look like an all-star next week.
but they're a team that I don't see losing 3 games in a row very many times with Lance Leipold there. I know they haven't looked good, but you have Kansas next week. Then you go to Stillwater, a team and a place that you haven't had much success against or at. Then you come back home for a 2 game series against Iowa State and Kansas State before going out way out west to Arizona. That 5 game stretch is without question the most difficult 5 game stretch in Neil Brown's tenure. And I don't know, man. Like, I'm not trying to sit here and say that West Virginia's going to fire Neil Brown if they lose to Kansas next Saturday, or that he's going to get fired midseason, or if he's even going to get fired at all. but you lose a couple more games here, and things are gonna start to get really interesting.
Yeah, and it's very likely to happen the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, if they lose next week, you might see some departures on the team, and then he's gonna have lost full control, and Ren's gonna have a decision to make because, I mean, this Pitt loss is unacceptable. I mean, I had this as a blowout. This Pitt team is not good. You just made that kid an all ACC player in 1 game. Like, granted,
Yeah.
he did it against Kent State. Kent State won 1 game last year. Kent State got smoked by Tennessee today. Cincinnati won 3
Didn't
games
Kent
last year.
State lose to St. Francis or something weird? Some
Yeah,
weird small
probably.
school last week?
They beat Cincinnati, a 3-win team from last week. They had to come from behind to win.
Down
Like, they're
21.
they're not world beaters here. This wasn't Penn State that you were playing. This wasn't Oklahoma that you were playing. This wasn't anybody good. Pitt might not. I mean, they get the benefit of playing the ACC and the Wake Forest, the Syracuse of the world. They're going to be all right.
I think you can
They're
make
not going
the
to win the
case
ACC by any stretch. By any stretch.
I think you can make the case, and you probably agree with me, that 4 of the next 5 teams that West Virginia will play are undoubtedly better than that Pitt team you just played.
Oh yeah, I'd say all
So
5.
so what does that tell you? I mean,
Yeah,
that
it's
you can't have these many games 6 years in, and we can sit there and spend all day about how no one was here when he first came here, and how he had to go through the NIL and transfer portal and COVID and all this other stuff. And to some extent, yeah, like, yes, all that
no,
is true,
that's true. No, the NIL
but
thing, the reset button, that's true. But you don't lose this game. Period.
no,
Penn State's.
and you don't,
You know what?
but
It looked
you
bad.
don't
You can scrap that, but you couldn't lose today.
you don't
You could not
lose the
not in that
Houston game a
fashion.
year ago. You don't even lose the Houston game a year. You don't lose the Oklahoma State game a year ago, which is probably the one. I know fans will look at the Houston game more because it was, you had the Hail Mary that happened, but the Oklahoma State game, that felt more like a game that was kind of, I wouldn't say going in your favor because they didn't play great that day either, but you had the lead in the freaking fourth quarter and you were getting the ball back and you had a guy run into your own punt returner. How many more of these games and how many more of these data points are going to be put out there before Ren or somebody in that administration loses patience? Because I mean, it is year 6. Like, no matter how you want to paint it, no matter how much stuff has happened and how many obstacles they've had to overcome, it's year 6. And this is a team that was entering the season with a little bit of expectations. And even if you can't even scratch the surface of those expectations, I don't know what would keep Ren Baker, Gordon Gee, and everybody else there at WVU in a place where they feel like Neil Brown would be the right guy for this team moving forward. But
Yeah,
it's 3
it's going
games
to be
in,
interesting. Look,
and who knows what could happen. But
we
I'm just saying.
as I told Scott earlier, we can be optimistic here. All right, 2016, Oklahoma started 1-2 and just lost to Houston. They didn't lose another game rest of the season. They had a spunky little quarterback, may have been Baker Mayfield, but you never know. Stranger things have definitely happened, but my confidence in this team right now is 0.
I mean, yeah, I don't
I
know
won't.
if I
I
see.
mean, those 5 games, you won't see me predicting them to win unless they go unless they blow out Kansas and then they beat Oklahoma State. Then no, still can't do it. I mean, there's no way I can predict them to win for quite a while.
Well, Baylor also started 1-2 last year and ended 3-9. And now I don't know that they're going to be the 2023 version of Baylor or the 2016 version of Oklahoma, but it might be somewhere in between. And to me, you can't take that big of a step back. If you don't make a bowl game with this group, like with the team that just won 9 games a year ago, I mean, you lost a few pieces, but that's inexcusable. You have to win 7, 8 games. I mean, at this point, that's even a kind of a tough ask because you already got 2 losses under your belt. But I don't know. There's just a lot of issues right now. I don't know exactly if you can pinpoint it to one thing this Pitt game was just a disaster. You could kind of feel it in the first half too, even though it was a game and it was close pretty much throughout the entire day. It just always had the feeling, don't you think, of just like a game that you just knew some weird stuff was gonna happen. I mean, even early in the game, the Pitt defender or Anthony Wilson was there, made the play on the ball. Ball goes up in the air right into the hands of the Pitt receiver. And my first thought was, what is this, 2022 MJ Devonshire already again? Like, and then you get the fake punt with Ollie Straw, and then you just go backwards. Nothing happens there and
Yeah, well,
was
they
that
had
was that
the
also the
touchdown callback.
touchdown they got
That
called
was the
back?
touchdown callback, and
Yeah,
they had to punt
yeah,
again, and that was a 14-point swing. Yep,
yeah,
that's what I said. We can talk about officiating, talk about all the nonsense. It was a crazy. That's what you expect kind of in a rivalry game, and you had it won. And that's why I said like the officiating. Yep, could have changed momentum, and you could have grabbed that momentum early and kept it rolling, just buried them.
yeah,
But at the end of the day, you could have buried them there in the fourth quarter. You could have went down, put up another touchdown, but you decided to play conservative, and that's exactly how Don Nealon got ran out of here. So we'll see what Ren does, because I can tell you right now, Ren did not look happy in that post game. He was not a happy camper. So we'll
yeah.
see.
I don't think very many people in the old gold and blue were very thrilled with the ending of that one. So it's gonna be an interesting week, season. I don't know. I don't know about interesting season, but we'll see how things unfold. 1 and 2 start for the
And all you
2024
can really
season.
hope. The best advice I can give is, as a fan, you have nothing in it, right? You didn't call the plays, you
Yeah.
didn't play the game. Try not to take it so hard. Get together with your friends, have some fun, and hopefully some wins come along the way. Because right now, it doesn't look like there's any wins coming anytime soon. Because as of right now, I have them losing their next 5 games. There's just nothing that I've seen that can show me that they're going to win anytime soon.
There's always basketball. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. We won't even get into that conversation. I know
Yeah,
some
we won't
people are
even get into
on
that.
Twitter
Hopefully,
already onto that, but
Tucker DeVries he's a good player. Hopefully, he has a little help.
and then if that doesn't work out, then hope Coach Sabins gets his first year
Gets
as
it
a
gets
Mountaineer
it gets an
baseball coach
itch gets the
underway. Yeah.
itch to come to Morgantown. I went on my breath.
No, 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 no. Baseball, Coach Sabins.
Oh, say
Yeah,
Benz. Yeah, yeah.
Sabins. Yes.
No, baseball.
I'm not that crazy.
I think we can keep that rolling and still be
Yeah.
doing well there. So I
Yep.
think we're
So
good on. I think we're all right. I think if we got something, we got baseball. We got baseball.
and you
We got
always
momentum.
have rifle. Men's soccer, by the way. I know we don't really
Women's
cover it all that
women's soccer, I
much.
believe, won
Women's
JMU.
soccer. Yep.
They beat
So
JMU. So we
there
got
are
some
some
things.
exciting things in that athletic department. It just may or may not be on the football field or inside the WVU Coliseum just yet. So, but hang tight through with there with us. We're going to be there every step of the way, whatever happens, good, bad, or indifferent. We'll be doing these shows every day, every Sunday after the game. We'll have the post game show, the walkthrough game day show on Thursdays, between the years on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and plenty of content going up each day throughout the week before the Mountaineers kick things off uh, throughout the rest of the season. So that's going to do it for us here today on the morning after of Between the Ears. I'm Schuyler Callihan. That's Christopher Hall. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode. Make sure you hit the subscribe button at West Virginia on SI and give us a follow on X at SI_WVU. That'll do it for us. We'll take the next couple of days off, or the next day or so off. We'll be back here on Tuesday to start breaking some stuff down for the Kansas game.